Good evening. Espionage at the heart of the Palace of Westminster. Well, in some ways, perhaps we shouldn't be that surprised because, let's face it, governments of all colours spy on each other, and they always have. And let's be honest, the British have been rather good at spying over the years. But this is another potential China threat. You may remember, just going back a few months, Barry Gardiner, a Labour MP, had received a great deal of money given towards his office running and expenses from a woman, Christine Lee, who was very closely associated with the Chinese Communist Party. What we saw on the front page of the Sunday Times yesterday was a young 28-year-old researcher said to be linked to some really quite senior Conservative members of Parliament. Now, he today has put out some pretty fierce denials, but it doesn't get away from the fact that we do need to talk about China more, and frankly, more honestly, because what really shocks me here is this man, plus one other, were arrested back in March of this year. Why has it been kept quiet for all of this time? And what was James Cleverly, the Foreign Secretary, thinking in visiting Beijing just a couple of weeks back? In the light of this evidence, why didn't he make a public fuss about it? Some will say, well, of course, if that was done, it would prejudice a future trial. But I think these things actually need, as a matter of public interest, to be talked about and to be debated. And then there's the question of Rishi Sunak. I mean, you saw the clip on the news of him in the House of Commons, but this is the man, when he was running to become leader of the Conservative Party and therefore Prime Minister, he didn't win, Liz Truss did, but described China as a threat. But now that's been downgraded. China apparently now is a systematic challenge. Well, I think Ken McCallum, the boss of MI5, takes it all rather more seriously. He said in a very unusual speech last year that the National Cyber Security Centre had defended the UK against a record number of what he described as cyber security incidents targeted at healthcare, vaccine development and much else. And he was perfectly clear that China was a threat. So let me ask you, is China a threat? Give me your thoughts, farage@gbnews.com, because I most definitely think that it is. And I feel we just don't have any proper leadership from our government. And my worry is there are just too many people in high positions in British society over the course of the last 10 years who have enriched themselves on the back of our growing trade with China, so much so that much of this tends to get brushed under the carpet.